In this lesson, we are going to be marking replies as best replies. So, when a user visits a discussion forum and answers a question, the owner of that request should be able to mark a reply as best reply. So, here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is display a button for marking as best reply. So, we're just going to come to the discussions, show.blade.php, and right here where we are displaying a list of all replies, we are going to come here. Remember, I made this a flex box, and that's because the second flex child is going to be a button. So here we're going to have button, and I'm just going to say mark as best. Okay, just so that we see how it stands. And you can see we have mark as best right there. Okay, so I'm just going to make this mark as best reply, refresh. That's the button. Then this is going to be type of submit, because we're going to be having a form, and then when the user clicks on that, it's going to make a post request to mark as best reply. Then I'm just going to give this a class of button small, button success. Refresh. Great. So we can see the mark as best reply button right there. Maybe we want to make this another color like warning. Okay, just to make our form a little spicy. And that's just weird. So I'm just gonna try info. Okay, refresh, and that's much better. So there's also primary we could try. Okay, so we have mark as best reply. Now what happens? How is the mark as best reply going to work? When the user clicks on the mark as best reply button, we are going to save a field to the discussions table. Let me show you. Create discussion. We're going to add a field right here, which is best reply. So we're going to say integer reply ID. Okay, and we're going to make sure this is nullable in case it doesn't have a best reply. So this is what it means. If a discussion has a reply ID, it means that the ID of that reply is the best reply for that discussion, marked only by the creator of the discussion. Okay, so what we want to do is first of all have a route for the user to mark a discussion as best reply, or mark a reply as best reply. So we're going to go to our web.php, and then we're going to register a post route. So we're going to say route post, and it's going to have exactly the same path as this, reply slash mark as best reply. But here we're going to have the reply that we are trying to mark as best reply. Okay, so we have discussions, then discussion, then replies, then the reply, and then mark as best reply. And I know exactly why I'm doing it this way, so that I teach you something in your Blade template. I'm going to show you what. Next, we're going to just have replies controller, or maybe the discussions controller at reply. So a method reply in the discussions controller is going to do that for us. So in the discussions controller, I'm just going to add a reply method. So replying to a discussion. Awesome. So here we need the request. We actually don't need the request. Let me show you. In here, we just need the discussion and then the reply. And then we don't need anything in the body of the request. So we don't need the request, right? We just need the discussion and the reply. So first, we're going to have route model binding for the discussion. And then we're going to have route model binding for the reply. And remember, for the discussion, it's going to be the slug, and for the reply, it's going to be the ID. Okay, so make sure you use that at the top. My code editor automatically uses it. And then what we are going to do here is we're going to say discussion, and we're just going to say mark as best reply, and we're going to pass in the reply. And then we're going to flash to the session. So session flash, and this is going to be success. And in case you're wondering where this method is coming from, don't worry about it. We are going to create this method, okay? So I know you might be wondering, hey, is this something new in Laravel? Don't worry, no, it's not. So here I'm going to say session flash, and I'm just going to say marked as best reply. And the reason why I'm creating this method is to show you how we can decongest our controllers to have some more functionality in our models. It's a really important pattern to master. So if we go to the discussion, I'm just going to come right here and have a public function mark as best reply, and I'm just going to type hint right here. This is just a PHP 7 thing, so I can say only a reply instance should be sent to this method, right? So that we can say this update, and then we can update the reply ID field to be reply ID, like that. Okay, so the discussions controller calls this method called mark as best reply, and then the discussion model updates the reply ID field and marks it or sets it as the reply that was passed in right here. Okay, then it flashes success message, and then we're going to return redirect back, okay, so that the user can view the discussion and also see the best reply. Now we've modified our migration, so we need to refresh our database. So I'm just going to say add migrate refresh, and then I'll run seed. Remember, it's going to seed the channels table. So now we need to go to our show.blade.php, and then this button is only going to show up if the logged in user is the creator of the discussion. So we're going to say add if auth user ID is equal to discussion user underscore ID. So if this is the owner of the discussion viewing this page right now, then we're going to have this button, and this button is going to be submitting a form, so we're just going to wrap it in a form. Okay, so don't worry, all of this is going to come together in a second. So we're going to have a form, and the action is going to be the really long action we had, and the method is going to be equal to post. We don't want to forget our CSRF token. Okay, and then we want to add our button. So how are we going to compose this? We have route, and then we're going to give it a name, right? So here I'm just going to say name is going to be discussions dot best reply. Okay, then in the show.blade.php, this is going to be discussions dot best reply. But now we have two route arguments instead of one. So if you can check right here, we have a route argument discussion and one reply. So we're going to pass in an associative array. So discussion, and then here is going to be the discussion slug. Don't forget that for route model binding. And then here we're going to have reply, and this is just going to be the reply ID. Okay, so that's it. Now if we refresh this page, we have a 404 because we've deleted all discussions from our application, right? So what I want to do is I want to register a new account. Click on register, add a discussion, and then view that discussion, and then add a reply, and you can see the mark as best reply button shows up. So if I view the page source, just to show you exactly what we've achieved, you can see right here that the form submits to discussion/vue.js/replies. That's the form for creating. I want to show you this one right here. So you can see discussions vue.js, which is the slug for the discussion, then replies, then the ID of the reply, and then we have mark as best reply. Awesome. So it's gonna submit a post request to mark that reply as best reply. So I'm just gonna reduce this, and then if I click on mark as best reply, you can see we are redirected back to this page. But if we check our database, let me just refresh this, check out our discussions table, you can see the reply ID on the discussion is 1, which is the ID of the reply. Then what we're going to do is in the discussion model, we're going to have some helpful methods to check if a discussion has a best reply. So here I'm just going to have a public function, and I'm just going to say best or get best reply. Okay, and this is going to return reply find this reply ID, and we can use a relationship here. Actually, you know, we could do something like public function best reply, and we can say return this belongs to the reply class, and this is actually going to work. Okay, So here, if we call best reply, it's going to check to see if this discussion belongs to a reply, and then we pass in reply underscore ID right here, because remember the method name is out of convention. Okay, so best reply is going to give us the best reply for a discussion. Okay, we can use a relationship. Now in our show.blade.php, we can check if the discussion has a best reply. So here I'm just going to say if discussion best reply, because remember it's a relationship, we can just call it as a property. If we put the brackets, it's going to give us a builder instance, which we don't want. So here I'm just going to have an if, and I'm just going to say has a best reply. Okay, so if we come back, refresh, you can see has a best reply right here, but we want that on this discussion panel and not that one. So I'm just going to cut this out, come right to the top to this one right here. Awesome. So here, this is where we want it. If I refresh, you can see it says has a best reply. Okay, so I'm just going to come right here, and what we want to do is have a card success, and this is simply going to print out the best reply content. So discussion best reply content. Okay, because remember the best reply is an instance of the reply because of our relationship right here. Okay, now right here what we want is this should be the title, and okay, maybe the head should actually have the details of the user, and then let me just say card header, and then the body dot card body should actually have the reply content. So if we refresh right now, you can see we have the best reply details right there. So what we're going to do is here, I'm just going to say best reply, and here I'm just going to print out the HTML content. Great. So you can see best reply right here, and probably want to give this an MY of 5 so that it's on its own. Okay, you know, a lot of space. And it looks like the card success class is not working, so we can just go to good old Bootstrap to find out exactly what the class name for success is. So I'm just going to come to card, search for cards component. So we want to use the background, so card bg success. Okay, so here we're just going to change this to bg success. Refresh. Awesome. So you can see best reply right there, and then probably want to give this a color of white. Okay, so maybe we can just say style is going to be equal to color of white, so it's readable. So right now, if a user marks a reply as best reply, it shows up right here and shows the reply content. Isn't that awesome? And if the user selects another reply as the best reply, let me show you. So lipsum.com, I'm just going to copy some fake reply content, then come right here and then add a new reply, and then mark this reply instead as best reply. You can see it shows up right here, best reply. Isn't that awesome? So now let's log in as a different user. So Laravel forum.ping. I'm just going to register a new account as John Doe. Click on register, and then I can view this conversation from this user. And since I am not the creator of this conversation, I cannot see the mark as best reply button, but I can also add my own reply. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a reply, and you can see right there, that's my own reply. And if I come back, okay, and let me just add a reply that is very obvious. So my own reply, add reply. Awesome. So you can see on page 2, I can see my own reply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right here, and as this user, I'm going to go to page 2, and then I'm going to mark this one as best reply. And you can see my own reply right there is the best reply. Okay. So what we want to do maybe is display the avatar of the user that created this reply, you know, just for a little recognition. So here I'm going to have image, or maybe we could have dflex.justify content between, and then here we could have an image. The source is going to be the gravatar of the reply creator. So gravatar source discussion best reply, and then we'll get the user. It's actually called owner, and then we'll get the email. And if we refresh right now, great, we have the avatar of the creator. But we want to also give this a width of 60 or 40 pixels, and then a height of 40 pixels. And then we want to also give this a style of border radius 50 pixels, and then give this a class of margin left of 2 or margin right of 2. Okay, so if we refresh, great, we have that avatar right there. Then let's display the name of the creator. So we're just going to have a strong right there, and this is going to say discussion best reply, and then we're also going to get owner name. Great. So since we have a display of flex, I'm just going to have a div so that it's the first child, and this one is right here to the left, and then to the right I'm going to have a div that says best reply. So if I refresh, great, so you can see it's marked as best reply. This is the owner or the creator of that best reply, and then we have the reply right here, and that's awesome. So now we can mark discussions as best replies, and since I am the owner, I can mark best reply right there.